Good afternoon. This is the international arbitrage on the 1st of November 2023. We're filming here on the west coast of Barbados as usual, my favorite haunt. And what I wanted to talk about today was, as an international tax lawyer, we do a lot of structuring of cross-border trusts, international trusts. The normal typical structure is a trust owns the shares of a company, and the company has a bank account, an investment account with some millions of dollars which are invested in a portfolio. The investment account will be with a reputable private bank somewhere. It could be somewhere in the Caribbean, it could be in Switzerland, it could be in the US. This is a pretty typical standard arrangement that many people with accumulated wealth use to protect those assets. The trust is often set up as an asset protection mechanism to protect assets, to deal with family issues, to protect against creditors or litigators or people that may simply be opportunists and attack you. And so, this is just pretty commonplace. But my point today really is, because we do a lot of this, you see a lot of private banks, you see a lot of people using various financial advisors. And now, we don't sell investments, we don't promote investments. That's not my, I'm not talking about that. We don't have anything to sell or have nothing to recommend. But in principle, though, there are two things that I can see from, all the stuff that we see and are privy to. One is the concept of cost. I sometimes wonder if, it's interesting to see the way, of course, people go about doing things. No, I don't have a portfolio at a private bank yet. I don't. So, I am talking about what I see in general. As you can imagine, I'm not talking about any one specific person or people or anything. So, in general, I would question the cost. Do people pay attention to the fees, the costs of financial products? Especially when there are these products, so in this world, there are some financial institutions have very structured products. And how I will describe them, these products have many layers. And these layers, if you can imagine, say a product is basically, they consist of, say for instance, like different types of securities, either different types of company, different types of industry, different types of security, anyway, quite different. It's not about the types, it's about the cost, the management costs, the fees that are charged to purchase these products and also operate them over time. Obviously, the client is getting net returns, is earning net returns on their passive income. But the fees I have noticed in these structured products vary greatly. I have also seen the difference between people who do pay close attention to these types of things and people who don't. They definitely choose differently. There's a lot of people who choose products that seem to have quite high fee structures. It appears that way to me. So my message to people would be simply just to be discerning. If you're working with an independent financial advisor, you should definitely in this day and age be asking them what the fee structure is. Look at the fee structure over time. Understand if fees are going to increase. Do they remain the same? Are there any discounts available? How does it work if there's redemptions? You really have to get into the nitty-gritty of this stuff. You can't just say, oh yes, my profile says I'm a high risk, low risk, middle risk person, and then essentially just hand your capital over to be deployed into a range of structured products just because the brand of the institution is global or fantastic or has been around for 300-400 years. It doesn't matter. Institutions that have been around for 300-400 years sometimes go out of business if they're not very good at what they do. So you definitely need to be in this environment. If you're getting into wealth management, you need to be discerning, because from what I can see is that it doesn't matter how much money you have. At the end of the day, there are some people are more discerning than others. Some people look into things more than others, and so you really need to think carefully about when you're doing wealth management. You're excited to set up, or you're looking forward to setting up your investment account. You've been told good things, they're good things, and you want to get things squared away. But then after you've done all that, definitely get into the detail, or have your accountants do it, or do it yourself, but definitely do it. Don't leave it for years and years. And the other thing for people to remember is that in the world of the wealthy, these are wealthy people problems. Someone who's worth $25 million. Now, $25 million, to be frank, is a lot of money, especially if you work for it. I respect anyone who's, I respect anyone generally, but we're talking about the issue in the context of dealing with lots of money and the cost of it, and being prudent and sensible and just having common sense and what have you. And so, if you've got $25 million, however, there is a certain range of products and things that your advisors will provide you, sell you, and give to you, or give to you as options. Keep in mind, if you are worth 150 million or 200 million, you will get a different set of options, which makes complete sense, right? So you have to be discerning. Just because you've quote unquote only have $25 million, that doesn't mean that you should take what you get. If just because you have 10 or $15 million, that doesn't mean that you have to settle. What I would say to you is educate yourself, look into things, and be discerning. And I know this is basic, simple advice, but I'm just surprised by how many people who don't do it. They just don't. So there's that message. The next message is basically, are you being sold to? Are people selling you things? Is your independent financial advisor really working with you? And how are they advising you, or are they selling to you? This is something that you need to understand the difference between. If you're not spending or demanding significant time, you only get out what you put in, right? If you're not spending time with your financial advisor, working with them, working through the issues, if they're not chasing you and putting in the work, and if you're not putting in work, then if you're being sold to and you just take the easy path and put your money at a reputable institution, but you allow yourself to be sold a range of things that you don't really understand, and you don't fully understand the fee structure, and you haven't really got a comparative sense of what it is you've been sold, then that's not great for you. At the end of the day, I have a great respect for people who have worked for and earned their money. And for those who inherit money, what I would say to you is the onus is even more on you to be diligent, because you've been fortunate enough to inherit or benefit or be the beneficiary of. And so the very least you can do is be extremely diligent as to the financial architecture that has been set up for you. But you need to know the difference. You need to be aware of the commercial issues of selling and sales, because if you've been sold to, and that's the approach that you have allowed with your financial services advisor, then that may or may not be in your best interest. You may want to consider that there is a lot of mis-selling out there. If someone doesn't really know you, they don't really have context of who you are, what your values are, your aspirations, where you've been, where you're going to, and you allow yourself to be sold to, and you don't work with an advisor, you don't take the time because you're too busy, and you don't put in the time, you don't tell them that time is necessary, there's a price to be paid for that. So you can't just sit back and allow your advisors your independent financial advisors to just go off and treat you as one of many. If you've worked for your money or you've inherited, however you came into your money, you need to be diligent. You need to put in the time and the effort. The financial system is a lot bigger, than it was. There's a lot more options. It's a lot more complex, and there's nothing to necessarily say that you are getting the best deals, the right things for you and your family. You need to make sure that what is being provided to you is correct. And the other thing that you need to remember is that there is a lot of mis-selling out there. Some financial advisors are working on this and essentially putting in systems and approaches to counter or to not mis-sell to people. And it's possible to find those guys who are working on things like that, and I would say certainly they are worth a look. You need to look into them and see if they're actually doing what they're saying. But if they are doing what they're saying, then these are people. This is the future, because the system is transparent. There is no room for financial mis-selling in today's financial industry. So just some thoughts on financial selling, wealth management, managing family money, these types of things. As I say, we don't sell or provide advice. We can only talk about commercial issues and principles and things in general that we see. A lot of international families who have international businesses end up with surplus capital that they put in trusts and put in private banks, one private bank or another. They hire wealth managers. All wealth managers are not the same. I've seen many different approaches. Some you can have personal relationships with. Some, are more corporate in their approach. They're all very different. But these are things, but you, the client, you need to take these things into account, and you need to make effort as well to make sure that you are working with the right person. If you just outsource your financial well-being to a branded financial institution, well, then you will have to consider the consequences of that in the long run. Alright guys, that's it for now. Cheers.